Hey everybody, welcome back. It's just me again, Mr. Wick, your lovely social studies teacher, waiting for a class to come back to be able to see you guys all again. This week we're going to take a look at the minimum wage. Now the minimum wage has been bandied about for a long time, whether we should raise it, whether there should be a minimum wage law. Well, we're going to take a quick look through this next slideshow that I'm going to share with you, walk you through. At the end you'll be able to follow some links and do some research. You'll have to come up with some ideas of your own as you go through things, and you decide whether or not we should raise the minimum wage. Your final assessment on this one will be to piece together a short piece of writing for me to explain to me why you think we should or shouldn't raise the minimum wage. There are a lot of videos for you to go through. You'll be able to go through those on your own. Pick and choose 3 good reasons why you believe we should or shouldn't raise the minimum wage. But with that said, we're getting ready to get into it. So everybody, giddy up, let's go, let's get out of here, let's attack the minimum wage. We'll start our look at minimum wage with kind of where we're at in the world, and that is poverty. Poverty is just, for lack of a better way to put it, the state of being extremely poor. And we look at what part of our country is living in poverty, and we'll define poverty. The government gives guidelines for poverty. In fact, we're going to look at those guidelines, see how much you have to make to be considered living in poverty. But again, the question about minimum wage is, will that raise people out of poverty? Well, let's take a quick peek at the 2018 rankings of poverty. You can see by looking at the chart how the American government defines poverty itself. Making just over $12,000 a year, you're considered barely enough to get by with just your basic needs. If you're married, there's 2 people living in the household, $16,500, and it goes on from there. So again, the amount of money you would make if you consider living in poverty is not very much. Minimum wage does not put you in poverty. However, the question becomes, how do you move from poverty to the middle class? And that's really kind of a fuzzy area. Some people say you just got to work harder. Others say you got to get more education. Others say you need to know somebody in the business to get a job. But it's always a very touchy subject. How do you make more money and doing it legally? This editorial cartoon always kind of enlightening. You see the people walking on the street and you just assume how they're doing, but you never know who's got college debt, who's got car debt, who's knee-deep in credit card debt, and who actually has spending cash. Take a second and just look around this cartoon. This last editorial cartoon looks at how America views big business and the CEOs or the chief executive officers, how they get the money break, but the workers get very little. Some people have different experiences. Just thought I'd share that cartoon with you. As I mentioned earlier, the poverty rate is around $12,000 or so in America. The question is, who is that? This next chart breaks it down by ethnicity. You can see that basically 1 out of every 10 white Americans is living in poverty, all the way down through Native Americans, where it's nearly 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 who are living in poverty. And again, overall, 45 million Americans are struggling to make ends meet. Take a look at these 3 informational maps right now. You can see where poverty is in America. You can see where Wisconsin ranks. And then the next thematic map will show you which states are the hungriest. And you'll notice a little correlation between the poverty and the hungriest. But now take a look at this last one, the fattest states. And yet again, that same area reaches poverty, the hungriest, and the fattest. Take a second, think why you think that may be. That's going to come up a question I'm going to ask you to answer for me eventually. But why do you think that the poorest is the hungriest, is also the fattest? And that brings us to the minimum wage. The current federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Many states have raised their own personal state wages, and then many companies have hired more just to get better quality workers in, hopefully. The history of the minimum wage will go back to FDR. Remember Franklin D. Roosevelt? He's that president we talked about, was elected 4 times. That caused the amendment to come in place to limit the president's terms. Well, he started with the Fair Labor Standards Act. And since then, the minimum wage has gone up. Well, let's find out how many times. Take a look at this short video.
In 1938, the very first federal minimum wage was set at 25 cents an hour when Franklin Roosevelt signed the Fair Labor Standards Act. The wage is not tied to the rate of inflation, so it only goes up through congressional action. And 22 times since 1938, Congress and the President have worked together to raise it. Here's a look at when the wage has gone up over time. Keep an eye on the number in blue, which shows you how much that amount would be worth in today's dollars.
But I can dream, can I?
Sweet, sweet memories you gave, made of this. Can't beat the memories you gave.
Take good care of my baby. She wore blue velvet. Saw her face. Now I'm a believer.
Can't have me. Nope.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now.
Stop, whoa, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait.
Mr. Pop.
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain,
We have grown.
Nothing compared to you.
I've been thinking about you. Hala tu cuerpo, alegría, Macarena, Macarena. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts.
Then under my umbrella,
This was never the way I planned, not my intention.
Got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night.
At its peak, the minimum wage in 1968 was worth $10.75 in today's dollars, but the purchasing power that goes with it has not kept up. So, if you earned minimum wage in the 1960s, it was enough to fill up your basket with a week's groceries. But those earning minimum wage now would have to put some of those items back.
As you can see, that same $20 from years ago doesn't go quite as far today. You can't fill that grocery cart up anymore. Well, looking at the minimum wage, which I said earlier was $7.25 an hour, if someone relied on minimum wage for 40 hours a week, 52 weeks out of the year, they're going to make just over $15,000. After taxes, that's $12,000. But understand this, most minimum wage jobs do not hire you full-time because full-time would require them to offer you benefits, which they don't want to do. So minimum wage jobs are not full-time work. Minimum wage jobs used to be just thought of as jobs teenagers would do, or people just getting into the workplace for the first time. But you can see by the reality, it's becoming more and more adults are grabbing either secondary jobs or secondary income for family. As you look at this chart, you can see real quickly that about half of the workers making a minimum wage are 25 years and older. Those are not entry-level jobs. You can also see the racial breakdown and the percentage of number of jobs that are minimum wage. This will likely come in clearer when you look at the presentation in classroom, but you can see that Wisconsin stays at $7.25, whereas some of our neighboring states have raised their minimum wage, and where it is throughout the country. Before we start looking at minimum wage jobs and how it affects everything, let's take a look at some salaries around the country. Think about what jobs people have that make certain amounts of money. Now in class we kind of go over things. We take a little more time with this. We have class discussion. But for here what I'll do is take you to this website. You can look at it again in the classroom presentation. If I were to take a look, and if hopefully it'll appear okay, but I typed in nurse, you can see what the average nurse makes as a salary. And go from there. So go ahead when you get a chance, explore this on your own in the presentation. And we will be getting jobs pretty soon. We're closing down on that. The truth is everybody values their contributions to work greatly, and everybody would love to have more money. On the slides you'll see a series of videos that you can watch that will help explain the difference between in favor of minimum wage and against minimum wage. I strongly urge you to look at those. There's some links to some pros and cons that you'll need to look at in order to do the assignment. But that was the nuts and bolts of what we would have talked about in class. Again, having you there and me here is not helping us have great communication. If you have any questions, please fire them up, send me emails, hit me up in Google Hangouts, whatever it takes. Leave the questions on the assignment in Google Classroom. But again, do take a look at the links, do take a look at the videos. You'll want to use those to complete this assignment. Again, hope everyone's doing okay. Definitely miss seeing you guys in class. Definitely miss having interaction with you all. The high fives, the knuckles, the craziness. Look forward to seeing you again real soon.